we all doing today? My name is David Gino, and in today's book review, I've got a book review today on a nice snowy day. There's about 7 inches of snow outside of my house, and my glasses are probably dirty. I just now saw that as I'm looking at you with this. So that's why I have glasses on today, because I'm probably not going to be leaving the house. I'll spend most of the day probably working on this. I have a few movies lined out. I might go spar a little bit or hit the heavy bag outside. I might go weight train, we'll see, but I could use a day off. But anyway, for those of you out there who are suffering through the snow and are trying to get from one destination to another, or from point A to point B through the snow, I really hope you're doing alright. I'll pray for you. And not only that, but I really hope that you stay safe and you stay warm, because this snow keeps coming down. I've been trying to shovel my snow, but it's like it just keeps coming down. So as of right now, there's not much of a point to it, but that's not the point. We're here for a book review today, not to talk about snow. So today's book review is, the book I have is very, very interesting. It's an interesting one today, because it is a book about leadership, but the leadership in this book, the stuff it says in it is so powerful and so teachable that it was banned from inmates buying it in prison. Now, you're probably wondering, how did I find that fact out? Well, I was flipping through the social media one day, and I found out books that inmates cannot read because of like what it teaches and how teachable the things are and how you can use these teachings against other people. And this is the one. This is like the top one that was not allowed in prison. Now, the book that I have for you today is, the stuff I'm going to read to you today is questionable. So when I read this book, I thought it was interesting, but it was all very questionable advice. So let me know what you think in this book review. And this book is The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Now, questionable things in it because it's about power, kind of like megalomania is what they call it. Not really the I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. It's not like a book with about mental disease and stuff like that, or mental issues, but it's just about power and gaining absolute control of your environment. Now, the first thing that I have for you today in this book of power is at the beginning, at Law 1, and I believe that Law 1 is, let me find out what Law 1 is. Never outshine the master. See, it says stuff like that. But listen to what I have here about what it says. About never outshining the master. Everyone has insecurities. When you show yourself in the world and display your talents, you naturally stir up all kinds of resentment, envy, and other manifestations of insecurity. This is to be expected. You cannot spend your life worrying about the pretty feelings of others. With those above you, however, you must take a different approach. When it comes to power, outshining the master is perhaps the worst mistake of all. Second, you never imagine that because the master loves you, you can do anything you want. Entire books could be written about favorites who fell out of favor by taking their status for granted for daring to outshine. So, you're probably wondering, David, what does that mean? And I mean, well, let me tell you what it means. It means don't ever try to be above like the person teaching you something. So the reason why I say that is because when you're learning martial arts, I mean, obviously you want to hit hard, you want to hit fast, you want to make them miss and make them pay and stuff like that. And you want to be the best out of the room. You want to be able to beat everybody, you want to be able to hit the hardest, you want to be the best person you can be in that room. Not the best person you can be, but the best out of everyone in that room. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, what does that have to do with the master? Well, obviously, it's like the story of Lucifer and God. He wanted to be exactly like God, and God said, no, you cannot be like me. Lucifer got mad at that. In the martial arts situation, you want to be exactly like your teacher, and you want to outshine him and teach these students and not listen to them. Well, that's not how it's going to work. So, now, like you said before, taking their status for granted, for daring to outshine. You might be the best in this martial arts class. You might be the best, you might be able to beat everybody up, you might be able to hurt people, which is great. But you know what you do when you're the best? you just continue to stay the best. You don't try to outdo your master. You don't try to go to other challenges or bigger fish. Actually, you do go to bigger fish, but in one class, for example, you just try to be the best and try to teach everybody how you became the best. So that's what you do. And I did another book review a couple months ago, and it was saying, like, teach the stuff that you've learned to other people. Something like that. But basically everything that you've learned in life, show it to other people. Like my example with the gym and with powerlifting. I try to teach people all the time how to bench correctly, how to squat correctly, and how to do a good amount of reps without fully making yourself tired to build muscle. So, stuff like that. But the takeaway for this, not this video, but this section is, don't try to outshine the master. You listen to the master. The master is here to teach you. So think about that. So yes, never outshine the master. Now, I can't say I haven't heard it put in terms like that before, but never outshine the master. So they really ever thought that way, but in reality, you never want to try to beat the leader in your situation. Whatever you're trying to learn, wherever you're at in life, whatever job you're at, you never want to try to... So, now the second thing that I have for us, never try to reprimand the leader. Never. Now the second thing I have for us is about judgment. And this law of power is, I wish it said it in the corners, but I didn't. And this law of power is called win through your actions, never through your argument. Oh, let's see what this has to say. In the realm of power, you must learn to judge your moves by their long-term effects on other people. The problem is trying to prove a point or gain a victory through argument. It's through, in the end, you can never be certain how it affects the people you're arguing with. They may appear to agree with you politely, but inside they may resent you. Or perhaps something you said inadvertently even offended them. Words have that insidious ability to be interpreted according to the other person's mood and insecurities. Even the best argument has no solid foundation, for we have all come to distrust the slippery nature of the words. And days after agreeing with someone, we often revert to our old opinion out of sheer habit. Read some parts of it again, or perhaps something you said inadvertently even offended them. Words have that insidious ability to be interpreted according to the other person's mood and insecurities. Even the best argument has no solid foundation, for we have all come to distrust the slippery nature of words. In days after agreeing with someone, we often revert to our old opinion out of sheer habit. It might be kind of confusing, but basically it's being judged on other people and then reverting back to what they said about you. Now, you're probably wondering, well, what do you mean about reverting? Well, honestly, if someone said something to you a long time ago and you're still dwelling on it and it is affecting your focus and your leadership, that's when it becomes a problem. Like, when people judge me for being short, I mean, I do understand I'm short. Now, there is a limit, because if you have that one friend, if you're short watching this video and you have that one friend who just constantly picks on you for being short, well, then you shouldn't really be friends with that person. But here is, they may appear to agree with you politely, but inside, they may resent you. So if you're just like, I know, I'm short. Yeah, you are. But then he's like, you know what? Yeah, he is short, so he can't really do much with his life. And it's like, yeah, that's a pretty mean thing to say. But there's some cruel people out there. But judge your moves by their long-term effects on other people. And yes, that is very true. And leadership, you have to learn how your judgment affects other people. And you have to learn how other people's judgment will hopefully not affect you. So it's kind of like with haters. I mean, everyone has haters. And I've noticed that, like, more, I think bodybuilders and fitness girls all have, like, the most haters I have seen. Now, why do they have all these haters? Well, some of these bodybuilders will say a few things, might tell a few lies here and there. But these bodybuilders really flex on, like, the money they make, their muscle building, and stuff like that. And the haters are, well, get this, don't do any of that. It's their life. And girls, for example, most of the girls that get hate are actually, as crazy as it sounds, from guys. I'm like, wow, because I'm flipping through the comments and you see girls saying how pretty they are and stuff like that, and are happy for them, that they're improving themselves, and then you have these guys who just really beat them down for it, and I'm just like, wow. Now, you're probably wondering, if you're a guy who does that, stop doing that. Because the girl you're probably, or the guy you're probably critiquing, you're never going to see in life. You don't even have to be as famous or make as much money as they do. Try to work out a little bit. Try to change yourself. Like, I mean, I've been trying to have a skincare routine, and it's having some different effects, as you can see on the camera. But the moral of the story is, do not judge people, because it will bite you. And not only that, do not listen to other people's judgment, but when you judge people, remember, the old opinion will revert out of sheer habit. And the ability to be interpreted according to the other person's mood and insecurities. Even the best argument has no solid foundation. So even an argument towards another mood or their insecurities or stuff like that, honestly is going to go nowhere. You just have to accept the fact that they're judging you. And that might be hard at first, but I don't like being judged, especially when it's for my height or my tiny muscles, mood, and insecurities. People who usually make fun of other people for fun are very insecure themselves, but don't let your insecurities or their insecurities and their mood of them choosing to make fun of you affect you in any way, shape, or form. It might be true, but they're just doing it because they're insecure themselves. And they have I just love that, they have the insidious ability to be interpreted according to the other person's mood and insecurities. So really don't listen to that. So think about that for a second. Just think about a part of this book, which I know this book review is a little out there because the stuff is specific. In general, overall, it's just weird, and the words and everything that's worded is all different. But I appreciate you sitting through this short book review. But before we move on to the third section, I found out something on the last section that did come to my mind that I want to share with you. Verbal argument has one vital use in the realm of power: to distract and cover your tracks when you're practicing deception or are caught in a lie. In such cases, it is to your advantage to argue with all the conviction you can muster. Draw the other person to an argument to distract them from your deceptive move. When caught in a lie, the more emotional and certain you appear, the less likely it seems that you are lying. For a second. When caught in a lie, the more emotional and certain you appear, the less likely it seems that you are lying. Now, this is a section called the reversal part of an argument. So when you argue and you're, let's say, lying, you want to take advantage of that argument and try to make them believe you. There is a saying, which is a very famous movie with two very famous actors. And the saying in the movie is it's about lying. I believe I brought this up in an earlier video. And the saying is, people believe what you tell them. And to be honest, that is so very true. I mean, people believe what you tell them. And it's like, if I had a conversation with you or you watching this, and you told me you were a pilot, you told me you did underwater welding, you told me you drove a truck all around the United States, I would probably believe you. Even if you're clean cut, with abs, have all white teeth and everything, if you told me you were an underwater welder, I'd probably believe you. If you told me you worked in a factory, or a metal factory, for example, and looked like that, you know what? I'd probably believe you. Now, the reason why those lies are specific is because in real life, that is how it works. If you talk to a guy who's overweight and he's like, you know what, I used to be a bodybuilder, and I'm going to be like, you know what, alright, fine, I believe you. I believe you. But now you don't really want to be dependent on that, because like the overweight guy that was a bodybuilder, because genetics do play a role and certain looks do play a role. Looked like a slob, it would have been just a whole different can of worms that I would have wanted to open. But in reality though, people believe what you tell them. And honestly, in a verbal argument, as one uses their own power to distract and cover your tracks when you're practicing deception or caught in a lie. Now, being deceptive or deceiving people is wrong, Now the movie I just mentioned, this guy did deceive a lot of people, but he was deceiving the government, but we won't get into that. Well, like I said, this book's weird. This whole section is about arguing with people, deceiving people, how to not get caught in a lie, and how like judgment can affect other people to where they can't stay on their focus of leadership. I mean, this book is weird, but it is actually banned by other inmates in other countries, not in other countries, in the United States and in other countries, because the book is so, I want to say powerful, but the stuff it has, you can build a whole entire group or a whole entire... Now the third and final section that I have in this book is about, get this, chess. Now, for chess, we game of chess, and remember, chess is also an example used in martial arts, because it teaches you to commit. But listen to what he says about chess. Listen to what he says. Chess contains the concentrated essence of life. First, because to win, you have to be supremely patient and far-seeing, and second, because the game is built on patterns, whole sequences of moves that have been played before and will be played again with slight alterations. In any one match, your opponent analyzes the patterns you are playing and uses them to try to foresee your moves. Allowing him nothing predictable to base his strategy on gives you a big advantage. In chess, as in life, when people cannot figure out what you are doing, they are kept in a state of terror, waiting uncertain. Life at court is a serious, melancholy game of chess, which requires us to draw up our pieces and batteries from form a plan, pursue it, parry that of our adversary. Sometimes, however, it is better to take risks and play the most capricious, unpredictable move. Wow, there were some difficult words there. But, yeah, just think about that. Allowing him nothing predictable to base his strategy on gives you a big advantage. And that is what chess is, but also the strategy of leadership and power. If you're leading an army or you're leading a gang per se, honestly, strategy is like what sells, it's what makes money, it's what gets people to follow you. It's all strategy, and it's honestly like chess. And just like in life, everything in life is a strategy. Now, yes, he worded it differently and kind of words this as being like a big, I feel like this would be a mob boss's favorite book. A gang leader's favorite book. Could actually probably be, I want to say, a king's favorite book, but honestly, this book was weird. It was just had a lot of weird, like, it was kind of difficult to read. I had to really emphasize on what everything meant, but I appreciate you all sitting with me through this book review. And I'll read this here. Supremely patient and far-seeing. First, because when it comes to chess, first, because to win you have to be supremely patient and far-seeing, and second, because the game is built on patterns, whole sequences of moves that have been played before and will be played again. So you also got to think of patterns. The patterns you use to gain leadership and to lead your team are what are going to get you following. And going to get you the win in whatever sport you're in or whatever thing or business you're in. That's what it will do. It will be following the patterns and the fundamentals to grow and to be successful. So I want to thank you all for watching this video. I know this book was weird. Thank you for sitting through it. And thank you for joining me on the super snowy day. But I do want to thank you all for watching. The takeaway for this video is strategy. Form a strategy to be successful, form a strategy to get through your day, and just form a strategy to move up in the world. I want to thank you all for watching, and